What's up, CrossFit Chicago Heights? It is the last Tuesday in June. We're almost at July 4th, and we are back again for Do That But Better. I'm Zach.
I'm
Uh,
Eric.
uh,
Oh man.
yeah, we might be a little bit laggy.
Hmm.
How you here? Talk again, Eric.
Test, test, test.
All right. Yeah, we're all good. All right. But so Eric, how is it going with what you're a week, 2 weeks in with new baby?
Yep. 2 weeks in, we're finding the groove a little bit. I think
Cool.
yeah, he's awake a lot more, starting to have a little bit more of an opinion. Uh, that's an adjustment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've thankfully we have a lot of people around who have made meals for us, who have made really good meals and healthy
Oh, that's
meals
awesome.
for us, which has been cool. Um, yeah, we're into the swing of things now.
Very cool. Well, I'll tell you what. You know, sort of segueing into what we're talking about today with integrity. I feel that when you have a lot of stressors, it's very easy to start being out of integrity with yourself, right? So we start doing things that we wouldn't normally do. We start acting ways that we wouldn't normally act, and so let's dive into this, Eric. We're talking about integrity, and especially growing up in our house, I feel like this word was tossed around a ton, and it was always, for some reason, it was always attributed to Grandpa Corey. I don't know. Did you remember that?
No,
I always
but
feel
I could
like
see that.
I always feel like mom would talk about integrity, and she would always give us that integrity is doing what's right even when no one's looking, and that so Grandpa was a very big rule follower, like things like here's how it's supposed to be, and this is like that's the only way you can do it,
Yep.
right? And
I got
I
that.
also what'd you say?
I got that from him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in his house, like there was only one way to do things, and that
Yep.
was his way. Um, but I also remember like this was huge growing up because when I was in Taekwondo, that was one of the words that we learned. There was like respect and discipline and integrity, and it was like doing what's right. And I remember a time where the instructor, Mrs. Summers, they actually I just saw that the place that I went to, they just closed, and after I think it said after 30 years, like COVID shut them down. But Mrs. Summers, and she had said, "Hey, you guys are gonna practice these kicks," and she left the room, and she's like, "Just keep working on them," and so we're working on them. And when she came back, I was like dripping with sweat, and I'm like 6 7 years old, but it was like, and I remember her saying something about it, and I was just thinking that, oh yeah, it was integrity. Like when she wasn't looking, I was doing what I was supposed to. Like she had made mention of that I was doing the
Hmm.
things even when the instructor wasn't there, and I was like, ah. Yeah, I got it. But you know what? One of the biggest thing when it comes to integrity, so we always talk about this idea, and this is what I've always heard, is that it's doing what's right even when nobody's looking, which is true, and I think that's great as a parent to like teach your kid that, because
Yeah.
it it keeps them doing the things that you want them to do when you're not looking, right? But that isn't necessarily always what integrity is, and lots of times doing the right thing when everyone is looking, like this is like the second part, is even
Yeah.
harder. When all your friends are doing this, when your family is doing this thing, and really when you're thinking about integrity, we're thinking about like making something whole, and it's almost like having a tripod. And if you lose one of those legs, all right, you're no longer in integrity. You're not standing firm. And it's all right. Where am I losing that stability um, of my beliefs, of my values? And this is often more troublesome than when people aren't looking. That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, it's funny because yeah, so both sides. I'm thinking of like social media influencers
Mm-hmm.
of like what are you doing in front of the camera, like when you've set it up and you're like this is what I want everyone to see, and then what are you doing outside of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like are you I don't know. I guess I'm thinking of like the stupid things people do. I was on TikTok for like a week
Yeah.
and I felt like it was a ton of high schoolers endangering their lives for likes. So I feel like you get both sides of like I'm, maybe you're like a health or fitness influencer and you do all these things just so that people see you doing it,
Right.
right? And then the other side of like you're doing these stupid things because everyone's seeing it.
Right.
And like how do you do the right things in both scenarios?
Right. Yeah, and actually, I think that this is one big problem when it comes to nutrition and things like that. How many times do people say that I want I want to like change my body composition. I want to lose weight. I want to gain muscle. And you're like, all right, here's the things that I'm going to do. Like, here's the things that I'm going to eat, right? And then all of a sudden, you're, I don't know how many times I hear, well, my mom made me this cake, or my mom made me this, or,
Mm,
I went to somebody's house, and now you're doing these things for them, and it's out of integrity with what you said that you wanted.
yep, I
And
just had someone the other day
yeah,
said I really need to like clean out the pantry and get all the junk food out, but I can't throw away perfectly good ice cream.
yeah, absolutely.
You hear yourself.
Yep. I'll tell you what. I'm part of a Facebook group, and I think that most areas have them. Is called Buy Nothing, and so you cannot sell or buy anything
Oh
from it.
yeah.
And so it's just straight up. Here you go. And I don't know how many times you see people that go, "Hey, I accidentally bought 2 gallons of milk, and I'm not going to use it," and or like that. Hey, I got this ice cream, and if anybody wants it, come and get it, which is super cool because it's not going to waste. It's going to somebody, and you get to follow through with your values.
That's a great idea. I've never thought of that, but I'm totally using that.
Yeah,
Uh, Suggesting that.
I'll tell you what. That is the
Cool.
best thing. Besides do that but better, that is the best thing going on Facebook. But so when I think of like this integrity, there was one big thing I um, that I had in my life in semi recently. So in in March of 2020, I quit being a fireman. I had been doing it for almost 20 years, so I had been doing it as a volunteer. Then I was doing it full time for 15 years, and I had been running the gym for about 8 years, and I had lost the desire to get better as a fireman. It was like
Mhm.
I was doing it, and there was a lot of things that made like where I like my identity was in it, right? So it's like, oh, I'm a fireman, and people walk down the street and they go, oh, you're a fireman? Thank you. And I'm like, I don't even know you. Thank you for what? I've never met you before. I've never helped you before. And so there was all these things where it felt like this was a part of me. It felt like this it made me important, and other people were proud of that. right? So your parents go, oh, like my son's a fireman, and your
Mm-hmm.
grandma and my kids. Like when I told my kids that I was thinking about not being a fireman anymore, um, like they started crying, and they're like, well, I can't say that my dad's a fire not that my dad's a fireman anymore, and it was like it was super hard, but I had realized that I was no longer um, I was no longer like putting in the work that I wanted to. Like I wasn't totally there. I wasn't yeah, I really I wasn't as interested in progressing as I was like when I started. And I felt that it wasn't even right for me to be doing it anymore. Especially I was a lieutenant, and I'm in charge of people's lives, right? Like so, not only if we're going into like fire situation, but also my crew, and it's like I need to be like fully invested. And I remember I was working with a mentor, and like we had came to this conclusion that like it wasn't necessarily for me anymore, and I felt like I owed it to other people. People thought of me as this, and it had nothing to do with my values. And actually, one of the things that we were going over my values, and you can write down your values, say them out loud, and go, oh yeah, family, like family time is really important to me. But meanwhile, I was working like between 48 and 72 hours at the firehouse every week, and then on my days off, I would be at the gym. I mean, there was a billion hours there. There was times where I was getting coverage, like so that I could go do something. Like I was getting coverage at the firehouse. Meanwhile, I was missing, and so I was getting coverage for the gym because there was like something, and it was like, hey, I need some hours, and I would trade things and whatever. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, like I had my kids with a sport or recitals, and I was missing them, or even holidays. And it's like, oh yeah, I have to work, right? And it was like, well, if it was really that
Yeah.
important, I would have made the time for it. And so I was saying that these were the things that are important to me, and my actions weren't showing it. And now that comes into where does my integrity lie? Yes, I like I actually when I was talking to my mentor, he even said that you don't have to tell me your values. I can tell by your actions. And that like ooh, it's like it just burns when you go, oh man, if this is what I decided, then like why am I doing these things?
Right. Yeah, and that's such a very clear um, example where you have this identity of I'm a fireman. And I think in people's, I mean, most people watching this are thinking like health, fitness. A lot of times you've got the same issue and it's not quite as clear, but you've got the identity of I'm the big guy,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm whatever. I finish people's plates, whatever it is. Like, you have these identities, and like you said, like other people have expectations of you that you're going to fill that role,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to change that is scary. Like you said, like kids were sad. Your mom's going to be sad when you don't eat all the food that she put on your plate,
Right.
right? It feels like you're rejecting her because she's showing you love one way and now your role is changing. And that's scary. Like
Yep.
it's a challenge. Like you said, it's like that burning of like I have to actually I actually have to step up and make this change. I have to actually do this thing and like live the life that I'm saying I want.
Mm-hmm.
And that means everyone around you is going to have to accept you and
Yeah.
accept change. It's a scary thing. That's a big move.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, like you said, finding that environment where uh, people do accept that, and lots of times it just comes down to asking. you know,
Totally.
like if you let people know what these things are that you're trying to do, um, then they're often especially if they're your friends, especially if they're your family and they love you, like they want to see you do better. At first it might be like a little bit off-putting, like because it, it's almost like a gentle hit in the face, like, hey, what we're doing is not necessarily what I want to be doing. And that's just like if you're a little kid and you're like, hey, let's go walk on the railroad tracks, and when you go, I don't know, they're gonna be like, come on, you sissy, like this is what we do. Like, I'm not scared. And it's really easy to fall into that peer pressure. And and it's the same exact thing when you're going, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm just going to exercise. It doesn't even have to be going to the gym. And somebody's like, oh, why do you want to do that? It's like, are you kidding me? Like, why would I not want to do that, right? Hey, I want to be mobile and healthy when I'm 100 years old. Or same thing with food. Hey, why don't you just eat this? Why don't I eat this instead? Because it's making me feel better.
Mm.
And that is really hard to get over that peer pressure, because people are now one thing, they say that nobody above you ever tries to pull you down. And so when you are trying to make that change, you're going to get a lot of resistance. But it's like crabs in a bucket, and that one crab's trying to get out, and they're all, no, look what we're doing. Like, what I'm doing is okay. Come back here. And it's like, all right, that might be okay, and you can totally do that. And I'm gonna do something else. And just like smoking, you know, like that's the old after school specials. Like, you go ahead. I'm gonna go over here.
Yeah. But even, if you're out to eat, like being the person who orders the whatever chicken rice or orders a salad at the burger place,
Yeah.
it's like, really? Really, dude? We're at the burger place. You're getting that? Like,
Yep.
yeah. And my decision has nothing to do with yours. Like,
Yes.
I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong. I get that vibe a lot. If I'm out to eat with people, that like if I order something on the healthier end and then it's like, well, I'm just getting this because I haven't been here in a long time. This is like my favorite thing. I don't eat like this all the time. I'm like, I'm not judging you.
Yes.
Like, you're judging you right now.
For sure. And actually,
And
I think that's so huge. Oh wait, what did you say? I sorry, I missed it.
it helps in that situation to think of it that way. That like they aren't judging you, they're judging themselves,
Right.
right? Go ahead.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Um, I don't really remember, but
All right.
yeah, yeah. I think that is huge when you are looking at um, the judgment that might come, or even just the comments, or whatever it is. But when you go back to, what are my values? Why is this important? And this is the cool thing, is that say that we're going back to nutrition or whatever it is. You go, all right, what are my values, and am I staying in integrity with these? And lots of times you can go ahead and eat, go out to the burger joint, go out and get some ice cream, go have some cake, whatever it is like, is this in integrity with what my values are, and why am I doing it? Is this, am I eating for health? Am I eating for entertainment? And can that fit into to my goals?
Mm-hmm.
And you can, so then you can still have these things. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and they said that they're that they like to go out for ice cream with their kid on the weekend. And then they said that their problem is that they're having it multiple times a week. So they're doing it multiple days in the week, and then they go do it on the weekend. And it's like, oh, well, have it on the weekend, right? And you can easily say to your friends when they say, hey, we're gonna go have ice cream. It's like, oh, it's easy to say that I don't need that right now because I'm having it over here, and now I'm getting to do that thing and still staying in integrity with my values, because my values are health, and I can have some. I shouldn't have it all the time.
Yeah. And let's flip it around. Depending on what your values are, having six-pack abs might not be part of your values.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like that family time, or, like certain social values and priorities, and like those are going to balance out with the values of health. And so like that's really, when I think of, a balanced, healthy life, like that's what you're looking for, is where is the line of like, or the balance of those like social relational things, those social relational values, and your health and fitness values. And wherever that hits, like where that balance is, that's probably the, body composition that you're gonna hang out at, because it's like, yeah, I could be leaner, but I highly value these things, and so I'm not willing to make that trade-off, and that's worth it to me.
Right.
Which is all. That's fine once you've found that.
Right. And actually, like let's even take this back to things off of nutrition, like off of fitness, and we've got our jobs. And how often do people say, I don't really care about money, right? And then they're working every bit of overtime that they can, and they say that family is important to me, or recreation or traveling is important to me, and you're working all this overtime. You never get to spend time on it. You never get to be with your family. And once again, like our actions aren't in integrity with what we say our values are. And just like nutrition, we can always make that excuse that, well, this is going to help this or that, right? This is going to give me time, which it can, right? So you might be purposely going, hey, I'm going to do this many days of overtime. I'm going to save this money, and we're going to use this for our trip, and now it's going to pay off in the long run. But often it turns into, this is just what I do, and that money turns into just it just goes into the fluid like ether, right? And we don't have more, we don't have less. We just start spending it, and finding it in those kind of things. And I think that when we start thinking of how does this make me feel, right? If I'm in integrity with my values, I'm going to feel very fulfilled. If I am out of integrity, I'm going to feel like a victim. You go, I have to do this overtime again, right? It's like, dude, you could quit the job. Like, shoot, I did, right? And actually, there was at one point where when I was a fireman, like there was a lot of overtime, and it was super awesome. You could make a lot of money working these overtime shifts. They were 24-hour shifts, so every one you were getting 24 hours of overtime, and now do that multiple times a month. It's like you can really do well. But Natalie had told me, she's like, I would rather have you home more than have more money, because we were okay. It was like, yeah, we are okay. And that totally hit me. And there was I stopped. I didn't take another overtime check like ever, like for the rest of my, and that was probably for a couple of years, and you know, I really had to start looking at, oh, this is what I said that I want to do, and it's, oh, I want to be around my family more. Then I'm not gonna go there any more than I have to. And
Yeah.
and now I can start planning those other things that I want to be doing. And I no longer had to say I have to take this because of the money, right?
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah. A lot of that comes from like clarity and awareness. Like we've been talking about values and priorities, but if unless you take the time to very clearly identify those for
mm-hmm.
yourself, then it's really easy to say, like you said, like I value my family, so I work overtime all the time to provide for my family. But just saying I value my family, like that's not super clear. What do you value about your family? Is it time with your family?
Yeah,
Like specific events or like you said, like trips or something. Maybe you do work overtime to put together a trip every whatever, every quarter or something like that. Or in your fitness or whatever it is, like clarifying those priorities. I always say like your priorities, your values, and your identity.
hmm.
So, who do you see yourself as? What are the things that take priority in your life? And what are the values that you hold most important in your life? And once you clarify those, then it's a lot easier to look at different situations and easily recognize the right decision, the
Yeah,
right path to take.
I like that. Actually, I think we should cut it right there. So you said priorities,
Hmm.
values, identity.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah, and what you can do is ask someone else. Ask the people closest to you. Take a time journal. Write down what you do all day, each day, and then see if the values, priorities, and identity that you've identified for yourself line up with what you see in what you're doing right now. And if not, what are the changes you can make?
Boom. Mic drop. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah, and when you do that, you should be feeling fulfilled. You're no
Yep.
longer the victim. You are doing the things that you want to do. And when somebody says, "Hey, why don't you do this anymore?" it's like, "Hey, I don't see you at the bar." It's like, "I don't see you at the bank." you know, and because now you can feel good about those decisions that you make, even when everybody else is looking.
Yep.
There you go. All right, you
Cool.
guys, do that but better. We'll see you every Tuesday, 2 o'clock. Eric, get some sleep.
All
I'll see you later.
right. See you guys.